Oh boy, y'all. Hope y'all are doing well. I don't know about y'all. I'm pleased. I'm actually extremely pleased with this game. I'm not upset at all, honestly. I'm gonna turn down the music in a second here. I apologize how loud it is, but I don't know. I'm happy about this one actually. I know it's rough that the Bulls did lose this one, but I'm not upset honestly. I'm like I was thoroughly impressed with what this Bulls team actually did. There are a lot of things going against the Bulls in this one, but they stuck in this one when I'm like, I don't know if you have any business being in this one right now. And we're going to talk all about it and talk about everything that really went against the Bulls. But my God, man, like, just saying, like, Levine almost single-handedly got this Bulls team a win when they should not have won this one. He was very close. It was, oh my God, that was crazy to watch. It almost happened. Like it was almost there, but unfortunately, Bulls ended up falling short. That was interesting. But I am very pleased with this Bulls effort, and the thing is that this is the effort that we see when a lot of things are going against you. Like this is the standard now, right? You have to live up to the standard if you're the Chicago Bulls. So moving forward, they have to continue doing this even against some of the top tier teams in the NBA. But they showed out. They showed out in this one. So good job by the Bulls to keep this one close. They did everything possible that they were supposed to be. I know there's always those few little things, didn't get the defensive rebound multiple times. We saw multiple stretches where the Bulls offensively just looked kind of lost. But this is the best team in the NBA right now, record-wise. The Boston Celtics are in a prime position to win the NBA championship, and you come into TD Garden and hold them to 107 points. When this is one of the top scoring teams in the NBA. That's extremely impressive. I know we can get little, we can start cherry picking on some stuff here, but this was impressive to me. I was very impressed with this Bulls team overall. And they came in and almost stole one in TD Garden when they should not have stole this one. Quick things that I want to talk about initially. I thought that the Chicago Bulls did a phenomenal job on Jaylen Brown tonight. And I'm talking a phenomenal job. And he had some drives where he got to the rim where he probably shouldn't have got to the rim. But in the end, an all-star's an all-star. They're going to figure out ways to score even when they just don't have it going, okay? Jaylen Brown, he's going to score, eventually, even if he doesn't have it going. But you held this man to 7 of 21 shooting, 33%. He did not make a three all game. He only had 19 points, and he had some good layups, and there are some crucial buckets for him. But it's hard enough to stop Jason Tatum. It's impossible to stop both these guys if they have it going, right? So it is extremely difficult to stop this man right here, and he had his 32 points, deservedly so. But you can really slow down this one, in my opinion, and the Bulls did that. They slowed down Jaylen Brown a lot. Unfortunately for the Bulls, some role players stepped up, notably Grant Williams. Grant Williams hit some big shots that kind of killed the Bulls, but I'm willing to live with Grant Williams beating us than Jaylen Brown beating us, right? Or Jason Tatum beating us. And then Al Horford hit that three, obviously, at the end, where I'm like, hey, you know what? We double Jason Tatum. And that, to me, is the correct decision. You double the best player. Don't let them beat you. If Al Horford beats you on that three-point shot, tip your cap and move on. Al Horford's a veteran, and he's very capable of making it, but I would much rather lose to Al Horford making that shot, and he almost didn't make it, than seeing Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown take a shot and potentially ice the game. So I was overall very pleased with this Bulls team, and I hope that this is the effort we continue to see moving forward with this Bulls team, even if some things are going against you. So let's talk about the stuff that's going against the Bulls in this one. I'm seeing some people already in chat. Good to see you, main event unstoppable. Cuck Lord, Steph, Magugla, Noel, great to see you all. But some of y'all have already kind of talking about the officiating near the end was kind of whack, and I really agree with that, Steph. I thought that this was the officiating was not very solid in this one. I'm not going to complain too hard though. But you see here, the Bulls only shot 14 free throws compared to the Boston Celtics 21. That is a significant difference in my opinion. So this was kind of notable down the stretch where I thought the Bulls kind of got, screwed over a little bit by the officials, but they're on the road, right? Boston Celtics, they're at home. And we saw that, hey, the Bulls, even though a lot was against them, even though the officials didn't really give it to them, they stuck in it. And I can't be upset. We also saw the Bulls get out-rebounded, and I thought this was incredibly important for them to win this battle. Unfortunately, they did not, but I thought they fought pretty well. And there were a lot of rebounds that I'm just like, man, I don't know what the Bulls could have done, honestly. But there was those two possessions in that fourth quarter where Boston kind of had those multiple possessions in that one possession. That was inexcusable, but overall, I'm not too upset with the rebounding because the Bulls had some good stretches where they were rebounding it well. And then the biggest thing, obviously, in this game is that DeMar DeRozan went down. DeMar DeRozan, he went down in the middle of the third quarter, and it looked like he got tripped by Al Horford, which, by the way, is a foul that wasn't called, which is annoying. But DeRozan's all of a sudden, he's out, and the Bulls are down by double digits, and it looks very, very gloom for the Bulls moving forward, right? It looks bad. Your best player, who is, has carried this team multiple times this year, is suddenly out, and you're down double digits on the road against potentially the best team in the NBA currently, and it looks bad. But I was very happy to see that this Bulls team, in that third quarter, after DeRozan went down, like I've always said that whenever you see one of your top players go down, it is a gut punch. Okay, it is an absolute gut punch to the gut for any player watching, contributing, to the coach. It's a gut punch, and mentally, it's hard to kind of recover from that, right? And we actually saw that the Bulls in that third quarter, they hung with this Boston Celtics team. They made it so that the Celtics only got a 2-point increase to their lead at the end of the quarter, which to me showed a lot of grit and toughness from this Bulls team to just stick with it after that gut punch. And then in that fourth quarter, man, the defense was on point besides the defensive rebounding, but LaVine took over and he almost single-handedly willed this team to a victory. It was very close. He had two opportunities at the end. He missed a three, and obviously he missed a mid-range shot. I take those shots all day long, and I'm pleased as a Bulls fan that he took those shots. And you know what? You live and die. But he got you back in that game, so he deserved both those shots. Unfortunately, they just did not go down. But even if they did go down, the Bulls might not have even won this one because Al Horford hit that big shot in the end. Just really pleased to see this Bulls team do really well. And stick with this Celtics team. And this Celtics team is a juggernaut, especially on the defensive end. You saw it all night, but Bulls somehow found a way to start scoring some points. We were down like 15 and came storming back. Yeah. Sucks that DeMar got injured, but we went out on a scoring drought in the third quarter. There was a little bit of a scoring drought in the third quarter. The Bulls got down by 16, but again, they came back, right? The Bulls stuck with it. They could have folded when they were down by 16, but they stayed in it, right? They just and in the end, it's like, all right, you're gonna have to figure out a way to start scoring some points in that third quarter, and they did. They figured it out. They got some points in that third quarter when it mattered most, and were able to just keep it within 11 points. Right? You have to stay attached just enough where the Celtics have to continue to play hard, right? And it's not a blowout anymore. And the Bulls did that. Like that's hard, right? And they were able to come through. Sorry to tweet about LaVine not having that lift in his jump shot. I think LaVine jammed his knee on a drive playing the second. So I also think that LaVine did kind of jam his knee a little bit in this one. Or I don't know if it was maybe jamming or if he maybe bumped knees with somebody. It definitely looked like he did a little bit of something to his knee. I do think it did have an effect on him kind of throughout the game. His jump shot, I don't think, in my opinion, he did have the same lift on his jump shot, but it wasn't like it was affecting it too much. Like, he was kind of back rimming shots. So, in my opinion, I was like, okay, wait a minute. If he's just back rimming, then it's not affecting him too much. But there was definitely some moments where I'm like, hey, that didn't look normal, right? Where LaVine kind of looked like he was about to drive, but he ended up not deciding to drive. So he kind of picked and chose when he was going to decide to attack the rim or not. And I think he did it well, honestly. I think he did everything right. Because he definitely did, in my opinion, he didn't have the same lift in his jump shot, but I noticed it more when he was trying to drive to the rim. It seemed like he just did not have that lift where we saw the past 2 games. He obviously played the rest of this one, so I think he's going to be all right. But it is something to watch, right? To make sure that he doesn't potentially tweak this even more. But I think, seeing him come alive in that fourth quarter gave me confidence that I think he's going to be fine. Because he was struggling mightily with his shot, especially in the second and third quarters. But he came alive in that fourth. He did a great job. And I was honestly very pleased to see that he stepped up to the plate when DeRozan was out, and everyone's kind of looking at him like, okay, you gotta start putting up the points now, because you're the only guy that can actually score against the Celtics team. And he stepped up to the challenge. He did that. And there was a good tweet, in my opinion, that Mark Schindler kind of put out there, but basically he was talking about how he was kind of in and out watching this game, but like Zach was doing stuff where it kind of was like, wow, he wasn't really using his athleticism to score. It was more just his touch and his just ability to make shots. And I kind of responded like saying like, yeah, his lift isn't there necessarily, but he is straight up just willpowering points right now. If you do not know, I think that Zach, and I could be wrong about this, but I think Zach did not come out of that second half. I think he played every single minute of that second half. I could be mistaken, but from what I saw, I think Zach played every minute of that second half. And he straight up just was like, all right, DeRozan's out. I got to step up in this one. He had 12 points heading into that fourth quarter, and he scored 15 in that fourth. So just a great job by him overall. And I think the biggest thing for me, he did have that one turnover to Jaylen Brown that was kind of a big one. But in the end, when he had to suddenly become that on-ball guy, right, he only had one turnover this game, right? That's huge. And I thought, Zach was kind of having a bad overall game shooting. He was affecting the game in other areas. I thought his defense was pretty solid tonight as well. But the biggest thing is that he only had one turnover this game. When he all of a sudden is the number one option. And he's been in this position before, right? Bad Bulls teams, he's been the guy. But this is, huge where you lose DeRozan, right? That's mentally challenging. And suddenly he's thrust into this position, and he not only came through with the points, but he led by example. He said, I am not coming out of this game, right? He said, I am not going to come out of this one. And stuck with this team to make sure they stayed attached and almost won it. Yeah. As much as I hate to see players be out due to injury, but if DeMar is out for a few games, we could give the young guys a few minutes. That is definitely true. I thought, honestly, Billy Donovan almost made a bad decision a couple times. It's up for interpretation, but in my opinion, I think Billy Donovan made 2 bad decisions in this one. One was he took Patrick Williams out at the end of the second quarter. That's when the Boston Celtics kind of took off on that 7-0 run to kind of end that first half. And suddenly, when it was basically tied throughout the first or throughout most of the second quarter, the Celtics all of a sudden had a 9-point lead heading into halftime, and he took out Patrick Williams in that one, in that little stretch. And I thought P. Will just, he just hit a 3, looked pretty good. I thought he should have played, and he didn't play. So I thought that was a mistake. And then I also thought he took out Patrick Williams too early in that second half after DeRozan went out, because we kind of saw, Kobe check in very quickly. And shout out to Kobe White for a pretty all right game on the defensive end. Unfortunately, he just could not hit shots this one again. But I thought that P. Will should have played more, because when DeRozan's suddenly out, right, P. Will is that guy that suddenly becomes one of the main scoring options, hence the third option, right? And we saw that he kind of did not get the run that I thought he should have. And I'll also say this, I thought Vucevic did not get put back into the game early enough. If Donovan was actually legit about winning this one, I thought he should have put Vucevic in earlier to help Zach out, because there was a few moments where you could just see it was just Zach, right? There was a lot of moments in that fourth quarter, especially at the beginning, where it was just straight up just Zach only, and somehow he was scoring. And I'm like, okay, Vooch needs to come in to at least provide some support for Zach here, because at the very least, I know with Vooch is that he can kind of make shots, right? He can't create his own shot, but if he's given the ball, he can make a shot. And I thought Vooch was put in a little too late. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be too critical of Donovan of this one, because this was a very good defensive game. This was a very hard-fought, gritty game by the Bulls, and I do think Donovan does deserve credit for keeping this team in it. And it was tough to mentally stay in this one, and they did that. And I believe that everyone, including Donovan, even though I disagree with a few moments of his decision making, deserves credit for this one, for staying in it. How did Andre get injured? I didn't see. So I think Andre Drummond, since that San Antonio Spurs game where he had that shoulder injury where he kind of got injured, I think it was his labrum. I'm not 100% sure though, but basically I think he's been kind of dealing with that all season, ever since that San Antonio game, and he honestly might have like a torn labrum or something, or like a slightly, or I guess it would be a sprain then, labrum or whatever it is. Honestly, I'm not a doctor. I don't personally know, but he there was a play in this game where Drummond went up to contest a Jaylen Brown shot, and Brown missed it. It was, or maybe even made it. I'm not even sure. But Drummond was called for a foul, but what Brown's momentum carried him into Drummond, and Drummond took a hit up in the air, and then he fell back hard into the backstop of the hoop. So he basically, it looked like he fell into his left shoulder against the backstop, and it may have re-aggravated that shoulder again. So I think that's where Andre did get injured potentially in this one, and I think it kind of did affect him kind of later in the game, where I thought he could have gotten some offensive rebounds, but unfortunately, due to his shoulder, his lack of mobility, it kind of limited him, and it was, kind of hurt. But in the end, I just appreciate what he gave out there for us, because we needed his minutes, and he gobbled up 9 rebounds in 14 minutes. So I can't complain for what I got from Drummond tonight. So yeah, this is a tough one, honestly. In this one, this was tough. What moving forward here, though, I'm going to be very interested to see what DeRozan's status is going to be. This is going to be very interesting to see, because DeRozan has been an absolute Iron Man during his career, right? He does not miss games. The only time he typically misses games is when he is forced to rest, right? So if DeRozan is actually going to be out here, suddenly this schedule that I thought was looking pretty simple for the Bulls is not going to look as simple anymore, right? I was looking at after this Boston game for the Bulls. I thought they had some pretty winnable games coming up here, and I truly hope that DeRozan can play in these. But if he can't, now suddenly I'm gonna, I won't be shocked if the Bulls start to lose some of these, even though it's kind of in the definition of their season already. But upcoming here for the Bulls, they're set to face Washington next, and I thought that was a very winnable game just in general. But now that if DeRozan can't play in that one, which I think if he's going to miss a game, it's going to be that one, then things kind of change here, right? I hope the Bulls still do win against Washington, even if DeRozan doesn't play, but I won't be shocked if they lose that one, because Bradley Beal is a very capable all-star, and Kristaps Porzingis has had a good year, right? And now suddenly the Bulls are down a 26-point per game scorer. So it's rough for the Bulls moving forward from here if DeRozan suddenly is going to miss a few games, when I think they kind of have a stretch coming up here where they could potentially go on a little bit of a streak here and close out the month of January on a very positive record for them. So it'll be rough, but I hope DeRozan's all right. If he's going to miss some games, then obviously, we saw Zach step up tonight. So he came up to, he rose to the challenge. I thought Vooch also stepped up very well tonight. He rose to the challenge, but it's going to be on the rest of the guys here to really start stepping it up, right? Patrick Williams, I think also he needs to play. but he needs to step up. But seeing a guy like Kobe White, for example, go 1 for 7, and this is after I've given a lot of praise to Kobe. Like this is something that he's a guy, right, that we kind of look to as, if DeRozan's not out there, you gotta really step it up here, because you're one of the few guys that we can kind of reliably trust to score. So we'll see if some of these guys that are don't have that big of a role can rise to the occasion here moving forward. At least no back-to-back game tomorrow. Yeah, I'm glad we don't have a back-to-back. That would kill this roster right now, especially. Like, again, by the way, I'm going to keep mentioning this. Zach played 42 minutes tonight. That's not normal, right? You typically see Donovan always kind of limit his guys to at max 38. Typically, his starters are around 36. Zach played 42 minutes tonight. I really think he played every single second of that second half. So props to him, but he's going to need a day off, and he's going to get that, luckily. Yeah, no Bradley Beal. Oh yeah, okay. So Bradley Beal will be out. So maybe that's a very winnable game. Still, I don't want to take the Washington Wizards lightly here, because they are still a team that could potentially steal a game from the Bulls, right? So it's going to be interesting to see if this Bulls team, if DeRozan's out, can they step up to the plate here and win against this team. Because if DeRozan's out, I'm even if Bradley Beal is out of this one, I don't know if I can just full out say that this Bulls roster is 100% better than the Wizards with DeRozan out and Bradley Beal being out, right? I would hope to say that, right? I do think that the Bulls have the best player in Zach, but the Wizards have some solid role players, right? And we don't want them to have a game against us, right? So I thought, I just hope that we're going to see some people kind of rise to the challenge. Yeah. Bulls got to go 1-2, Zach and Vooch. Pat take the number 3 option. That's what I think as well. And then, in my opinion, if there's going to be like a 4th option or the leader of the others, I think it has to be Kobe White, right? He's another guy that I think can put up 15 points. But it's going to be a collective effort. Aya's got to step up. I think Dragic is going to have to play more minutes as well and also step up. And Caruso just can't be afraid to shoot shots, right? We saw Caruso hesitate on a lot of threes tonight. I know it's his first game back, but he can't hesitate, right? He's not allowed to hesitate on those open threes. He's got to take those open threes. And I hope that people are going to rise to the challenge here. Who injured latest in our roster? So yeah, DeRozan left the game in this one, so we don't know his status. We're probably getting an update tomorrow about his status. So we'll see if he plays tomorrow. Against the Wizards. Javonte Green is still currently out. He missed this game tonight, so he's out. But Caruso did return. So Caruso being back is obviously huge, and that he definitely helps. But if we're missing DeRozan, right, that's a big gut punch, right? We have to weather the storm and hope to stay together here and not kind of fall flat on our faces with arguably the best player on this team being out, right? So we'll see what happens here. Finally, Zach going 4-13 from 3. He's got to be taking all those 3-pointers we want to win. So yeah, I understand if I kind of saw it a little bit on Twitter, but Zach, he hit his second 3, so he went 1 for 2 to start, but then he missed, I think, 5 straight after that. With Zach, I understand why people were like, stop shooting the ball, get to the rim, but like how Noel was saying and how the broadcast even mentioned that, I started to notice, like, it looked like Zach kind of jammed his knee a little or something. Maybe he tweaked his knee or something. And it just seemed like he just did not have his normal lift on his knee, right? And so him going to the basket wasn't really a viable option there because he just didn't have his lift, right? So him shooting those threes, it wasn't like those threes that he kept taking were like bad shots. Like, he wasn't airballing them. So I was like, yeah, you got to keep shooting it. And by the way, the Boston Celtics defense, that is one hell of a defense over there in Boston. And they were taking away every single paint opportunity for the Bulls. They were forcing everything on the perimeter. So if the Bulls were going to win it, Zach had to hit some threes. He just straight up had to hit some shots on the perimeter. And in that fourth quarter, he hit 3 threes to get the team back in it. So, like I said, I understand if people are going to start questioning this whole, shoot 10 to 15 threes per game. In my opinion, even if Zach is off, Like, even if he is really struggling, I still want him shooting at least 8 threes per game. If he's hitting some, even if it's not hitting at a high rate, him shooting 12 to 13 to me is still a fine thing. He has to shoot these shots no matter what, even if he is kind of quote unquote struggling. Because in my opinion, he's too good of a shooter that if he's struggling, that he's gonna eventually start knocking some down if he shoots 12 or 13, right? He's gonna hit 4 at the end of the day, and those last 3 ended up being some big threes. So he just straight had to keep shooting. So I agree with you, Patrick, that he had to keep shooting, and he did that. Ended up proving to be huge for this Bulls team, and they almost won it because of it. So yeah, tough, but he stepped up, right? He stepped up to the challenge in this one, and I'm happy to see that he stepped up. So yeah, we're really gonna see what this Bulls team is like fully gonna be if DeRozan is gonna be out here, right? Zach's suddenly the number 1 option. Vooch is the number 2 option. P. Will is the number 3 option, right? Who else is gonna step up in return? Because you don't just replace a 26 point per game scorer, right? That's something you just don't do. And while Zach is obviously a guy that can slide into that number 1 role, then we're missing a significant person at the number 3 option, right? And while P. Will, I think, is very capable, he's never really been an option, right? He's never truly been an option or a main offensive option for this team. So if he's going to have to slide into being that second or third option with DeRozan out, it's going to be a true test for him, right? And this is the time, as we've always said, next man up. P. Will, next man up. That means you gotta be taking a big part of this offense if DeRozan's going to be out here. So again, we're gonna see what's gonna happen here with DeRozan. I'm gonna click on Casey Johnson here to see if there's any sort of update. Let's see here. So Donovan said that DeMar told him he felt like he got tripped on that play that produced a quad strain. DeRozan said it felt okay initially, but quad didn't feel right as he played on it for a bit. We saw that DeRozan came in and played for another few minutes, but then went out. DeRozan said quad contracted and he couldn't move like he wanted to. Said it's nothing too crazy. He said he'll get treatment tonight and tomorrow. Typically plays through stuff, but we'll take it day by day. DeRozan said the quad has been bothering for 8 games. He played through it. So not only is this kind of like a new injury for the Bulls, but this is something that DeRozan's been dealing with. So that doesn't sound too good, in my opinion. If his quad was already kind of messing with him, and now suddenly it's, he re-aggravated it, that to me screams that this could be a little bit more serious. It looks like right now he's just day to day, but we've seen day to day, kind of lead to some, a week or two, right? So I've always, and this is kind of the way I've always looked at things, and I've kind of gone through life this way as well. I always kind of prepare for the worst, right? So if you're Billy Donovan and you're the rest of the team, prepare for DeMar DeRozan not being there against the Wizards, okay? You have to mentally prepare yourself for DeRozan to be out, because if you don't, then day of the game, you don't want to have that mental challenge of where you find out, oh man, DeRozan's not going to play for us tonight. That really sucks, right? And then suddenly you're not mentally ready to play the game. So, in my opinion, prepare as if DeRozan's not going to be playing against Washington. And if he's really going to be out, then you're set and ready to go. And that's not like something out of the blue and it's going to catch you by surprise. So prepare as if DeRozan's going to be out against Washington. Be ready for that to actually be the case. And look to see if and look for the others to start stepping up in place of him. They kept the close. Props for them. He stepped up when DeMar went down. Yeah. Just props to basically, I'm just gonna mostly give props to Zach and Vooch, because they came in and scored most of the points that entire fourth quarter, right? I think there was a moment where Zach and Vooch scored like they were the only two to score 25 straight points for the Bulls in that fourth quarter. Like, that was impressive. That was extremely impressive by the Bulls, and mostly those two guys to basically will the team to points when things kind of did not look very good. And yeah, they really stepped up in place of DeRozan. So it's gonna continue to be this tough, though, if DeRozan's gonna be out, right? Those who have to step up, others got to step up too. And we'll see now if DeRozan is out and suddenly now that starting position is open, right? I don't know what Billy Donovan is going to be truly thinking in his head. I think my initial reaction is if Caruso can play, Caruso's going to be slid into that starting small forward, right, position where DeRozan usually plays. In my opinion, I wouldn't mind this, but I'm going to throw out just kind of just an option here. I wouldn't mind Dalen Terry starting here. And I'm not saying to play him a ton of minutes, but if DeRozan's out, I think it wouldn't be a bad option just to start Terry, because, and I don't want to like throw too much shade at Dalen Terry here, but it's kind of in a way to like hide him, right? If he's, not playing too well, you kind of hide him in the starting unit, right? And see, and kind of, not have him be too involved in some of the action in that starting unit. And then the bench unit gets to kind of stay consistent. The biggest thing, though, and this is going to be interesting, is with DeRozan being out, the second unit suddenly has lost their guy, right? DeRozan has run the second unit in the most recent rotations for the Bulls, right? So I don't know exactly what Billy Donovan's going to do if DeRozan's out. Who's going to be the leader of that second unit? We know Zach can't play all 48, so I'm going to guess Zach kind of stays on his normal schedule. But maybe Vooch all of a sudden is going to be playing with that second unit a little bit more. But what I would want to see is I would want to see Patrick Williams be kind of that leader of that second unit. I think that would be kind of like the replacement for DeRozan in that second unit. So P-Will come out early and then substitute back in when Zach comes out, and you're just going to have to stagger him and Zach for the rest of the game. And hopefully that's like a good kind of patch up if DeRozan can't play. Pat and I will step up scoring. I hope so. They're going to have to if DeRozan's out. Hope AC will stay as substitute. He is an impact player. So the reason why I don't want Alex Caruso sliding into that starting lineup is he just got back from injury, okay? So I don't want him playing 30 plus minutes per game suddenly. And I know this is his first game back, so maybe he's a little bit more conditioned now, but I still don't want him in his second game back where he's playing suddenly 30 plus minutes per game. I want to kind of limit him to like 25 or less as he kind of gets back into shape again. So that's kind of my main reason why I don't want him starting. Number two, I think he needs to come off the bench because I want Alex Caruso playing at the end of the game. And to kind of shorten the game a little bit for his minutes and to have some minutes left over for the end of the game, I want Caruso to come off the bench so that he checks in when there's only 42 minutes left in the game rather than starting when there's 48 minutes to cover. So I want Caruso to come off the bench personally. I think Billy Donovan might start him, but if I was Billy Donovan, I would keep Caruso on the bench so that I can play him at the end of the game and have minutes for him to play at the end of the game and not be creeping up to that 30-minute mark. So that's what I would personally do. We'll see what Billy Donovan decides. So that's the reason why I'm suggesting maybe Dalen Terry to start. I think Dalen Terry starting wouldn't be a bad thing if Javonte Green can't play and Derrick Jones Jr. is still going to be coming off the bench with Caruso. So why not start Dalen Terry? See how that works out. He will lose his impact if he starts from the get-go. I wouldn't say Caruso would lose his impact. I just think that the Bulls would have limited options down the stretch, right? And him coming back from injury, I don't want to play him 30 plus minutes just right off the bat. With the current status, Bulls should keep in mind to let the team grow. At the same time, prior to South, we don't have many able bodies, so we're not actually down too many players, honestly. Obviously, losing DeRozan's huge, right? And that's kind of like losing two players, right? But if you really think about it, coming into tonight's game, the only two people that were out was Javonte Green and Lonzo Ball. So the Bulls were relatively healthy in a sense, even though Lonzo obviously being out hurts, but Javonte Green being out, we've seen that the Bulls have been all right with Javonte being out. Caruso just returned tonight. Now that DeRozan potentially is going to be out for Washington, we're down 3 players, but we still, in my opinion, have a 9-man rotation that is still like NBA ready rotation. So I think the Bulls can weather this storm just fine. But just as you said, Chalupa, it is important that the Bulls prioritize their health here, because if they lose another body, then suddenly I don't know what the Bulls are going to do, right? If they, let's say, lose Zach, then this Bulls team looks awful suddenly. So they can't lose Zach here, right? They have to make sure that Zach stays healthy throughout this time of DeRozan being gone. So make sure Zach's health stays intact. Don't lose Zach in this moment, right? You cannot lose Zach at this moment in time. Yeah. Andre was also interested. So I think Andre is like he's banged up, but like he's playable still. So I don't expect Andre Drummond to be missing games. It's just that his left shoulder, I think, just has a little bit less mobility. So we'll see. How long is DeMar out for? We don't know. This is the update, Anthony. So the latest update from Casey Johnson is that we saw DeRozan kind of basically his quad contracted, and he's gonna basically be day to day. So we don't know exactly. But the thing is that DeRozan said that this has been bothering him for about 8 games here. So to me, that kind of screams like, oh, he might have re-aggravated something that was already there. And re-aggravating an injury, like it's very scary in my head. Not to say like he's gonna be out for a month or anything. Just he might be out longer than a day or so. It might be 2 games where he has to sit out. So that's the reason why we're just kind of going through like, okay, if DeRozan is actually out, let's prepare. Let's prepare as if he's gonna be out, and if he plays, great. But this team has to mentally be prepared for him not to play. So let's prepare for that for now. Yes, key point: we just can't lose Zach due to injury, even at the expense of losing. Depends on circumstances, game to game. Losing games, yeah. So yeah, if let's say the Bulls are, it's a rough game for them. They're down by 15 with like 3 minutes left to go. We've seen a team come back from down 21 in less than 3 minutes this year. So it's obviously very possible, but if that's the case, the Bulls might have to prioritize their health, right? You might have to take Zach out, even though it's technically still a game, right? You might have to take Zach out just to kind of conserve him if DeRozan truly can't go, right? So prioritizing health here is going to be very important, and this is the reason why I'm also saying don't play Alex Caruso in the starting lineup, because his health now is becoming even more important, and I don't want to potentially, overwork him just as he got back. So yeah. Actually, DeMar is the fittest player since last season, never been injured. Yeah, so DeRozan throughout his entire career has been healthy, right? The dude just straight up never misses games. If you, there was a tweet by Will Gottlieb during the game after DeRozan left and went back into the locker room here. But if you just look at this, most games played since 2009 and 10 season. DeMar DeRozan has played 997 games since this season, which is the most out of any single player in the NBA. This dude has just been healthy his entire career. So it will always be a shock if he does have to miss a game due to him having an injury. But one thing that I do know is that he's not going to be out for long, right? He's not going to be out for that long of a stretch here, because even though he might be dealing with something, he's relatively just been healthy enough to always go. And he said that again, like he said, he's been kind of dealing with some stuff through the last 8 games or so. So it's not shocking that all of a sudden this came up. But if he's been dealing with this the past 8 games, then once he feels healthy enough, he's going to be able to give it a go. When he's maybe even 80%, right? And I think he understands his limitations. If he's not going to try too hard if he does kind of get injured here, and he's trying to come back, and he's not going to push himself over his limit. So as a veteran that's been in the league for a very long time for DeRozan, has played also in a lot of games, and he's been part of many teams, right? I think we can trust him to know his body, right? he's not a guy that we're going to be questioning if he sits a game or two, if he's just being extra cautious or not. He knows, right, what's best for him. If he thinks that he can play and that's best for him, fine. If he thinks that he needs a game or two to fully recover and that's best for him, just listen to him. Let's not try to start speculating on some other stuff because, my God, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a tweet by Joe Coley that was pretty stupid that caught my attention. And again, I will never be a fan of this guy. But he tweeted this out during it wasn't this. Where was it? Yeah, he tweeted this out. That he said that Zach, put a spell on DeRozan so that he can become Gotham tonight. Like, what? No. Like, Zach had nothing to do with DeRozan getting injured in this one, okay? Like, this right here should show you that if you're ever going to read a beat writer, don't read Joe Coley, okay? Do not read Joe Coley because this dude's feelings about Zach always get in the way of things. And he will always do whatever to find a way to blame Zach. And in my opinion, I've always said this. If a player gets injured, it is no time to joke around, try to make a joke, or try to be funny, or try to make a storyline out of it, okay? When a player gets injured, it is serious stuff. And I will always remember being at a Buffalo Wild Wings when Kevin Durant tore his Achilles in Game 5 of the NBA Finals against when he was on the Warriors against the Toronto Raptors. And I will always remember people cheering in Buffalo Wild Wings when he went down. And I just remember that I wanted to scream at everybody when he went down. You do not cheer for anybody getting injured. You never do. It's something that you should never ever do when someone gets injured. Never cheer. And this is at the time, if you don't know, like I did not like Kevin Durant when he was on the Warriors. I thought it was a cop-out move by him. I thought he was basically doing that, if I can't beat him, join him type thing, and made the NBA hard to watch, right? But it pissed me off when I saw so many people cheer when Kevin Durant went down. As much as I dislike Kevin Durant and his decisions to go to Golden State, that does not give me the right to cheer when he gets injured, okay? That was ridiculous when I heard that. So seeing Joe Coley, who is a well-known beat writer who has covered Chicago sports for 30 plus years and has been part of many organizations, make a joke about DeMar DeRozan getting injured, saying that Zach LaVine put a voodoo doll and stabbed him in the locker room, and so that Zach can become Gotham or become Batman tonight, and take over DeRozan's role is ridiculous and shows that he is seriously unprofessional. This is a dude that has been in the industry for a long time. He votes for the Hall of Fame for baseball, and he covers basketball. So I don't know exactly, what it is with Joe Coley and why he continues to get a bunch of credentials from people and continues to get opportunities. But in my opinion, this is a dude that should not be listened to anymore when it comes to Bulls media. And seeing something like this made me pretty upset. I did not, tweet about it or anything. This is his issue to deal with. But seeing this was ridiculous. And you know what? I've had arguments with this dude before. And it's about Zach. This is not about, that previous argument what I'm talking about right now. This is about that someone just got injured and you decide to make a joke. That's not cool. That's being unprofessional. You've been in this industry for way too long. You're not supposed to make a joke. Okay? This right here, unprofessional. Just straight up unprofessional. And he works for the Sun-Times, getting paid. So let's make sure that we don't create jokes out of this. And I think it's something that people, NBA fans in general, need to work on. But as you can see, people that work in the industry for a very long time can still fall into that habit. This guy Joe is thirsty. Where is he even getting his info? The dude made up so Joe Coley in his time covering the Bulls, okay? He did not like Derrick Rose, okay? He made it a big thing that Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler had beef. That was never a thing, okay? That was a made up thing by Joe Coley, okay? But people ate it up. Joe Coley has made up now that LaVine and Donovan, their like relationship is strained, but then he goes back in that same article to say that they're able to work together, right? And I'm just like, okay, you basically said a whole bunch of nothing in an article. You said that it's one thing, but then now you're rolling back on it. Joe Coley will do this sort of thing to get the clicks, right? He is a master of creating narratives or storylines to get Bulls fans talking of like, oh, maybe this player has beef with this coach, or this player has beef with this player, right? At the end of the day, I feel like all of us in general, whether we work with coworkers or even when we meet up with friends, like we all have some sort of problem, right? In general, okay? When I work with, as a college student, when I work with some students, I have a problem sometimes when I work with them on a group project. But, to me, it's the same thing when it comes to teammates, okay? Zach and DeMar, they may not always be on the same page, but they're constantly trying to work together to, figure it out and do what's best for the team. DeMar even came out and said it, like, yeah, maybe our relationship on the court isn't exactly perfect, but just like in any relationship, it's gonna be ups and downs, and so you just have to work through it. And we're all committed to working through it. With Zach and Donovan, okay, I do think that Zach was kind of wronged in a sense where he got taken out of that Magic game where he had a horrible game, and Donovan sat him for the rest of the game. But I think what Zach was even more upset about was that he wasn't in the game to shoot the free throws. Right? I think that's what Zach was even more upset about, was that he could not shoot the game be in the game for the free throws, and Vucevic ended up missing 2, hence then the Bulls lost. But Zach, went to the media and said that he believes that he deserves to, play in that one. Now, I backed Donovan on that decision. I thought Zach should have been benched in that one. But Zach might have a point where he says, like, I probably should be out there for the free throws. He might have a point. In that, and you know what, that was an issue, okay? But what I haven't seen Zach LaVine do is miss games intentionally, sit out games intentionally, be fined because of having an issue with the coach. Trae Young is having issues with Nate McMillan down in Atlanta, right? He had to miss a game because he had an issue with the coach. So if this, in my opinion, if this was truly an issue with Zach and Donovan to the point where it's like a humongous issue, then we'd see more reports about it. We'd see more things happen. Hence, maybe Zach has to come off the bench one game, or Donovan actually does not play him down the stretch, right? I feel like we'd see a little bit more of that. But in the end, to me, it's not news, right? This whole story or narrative that Joe Coley made up is not news. And maybe there is a little bit of truth behind it, but again, to me, it's not news. But he's gonna make it try to be news, okay? And I feel like it's something that Bulls fans, we need to make sure that we are aware of who is writing the article. If you want recommendations of who to read for beat writers, I think obviously the main person I've always talked about is Casey Johnson. He is by far the most. Like, he is the best, and he is the Bulls beat writer for when it comes to the Bulls and reporting information. But I always like to shout out Darnell Mayberry of the Athletic. I know this is always behind a paywall. I'll let you guys in on a little secret here, but if you go to this website here, Archive, and you just copy the link of this article and you press search, you're able to actually read the entire article here. So if you ever want to read beat writers, you can find good beat writers for the Bulls, and I think Darnell Mayberry's one. Casey Johnson's obviously the most well-known, but there are other people out there, so make sure you read it from the best people that actually will report the actual information, and not some narratives that they want to try to start up that could be false and are most likely false, just because that's how they get paid. They get paid for clicks. So yeah, it's something to look at moving forward here, just to be aware of this sort of stuff. So yeah, let's see here. Billy Donovan on Al Horford hitting the big 3. Let's see. I'm not surprised. I just wish he was in the other corner, because when we trap, that's what he does. He's going to make a big shot. He can miss 3 or 4 in a row and late in a game, and when it really matters, he always steps up and answers the bell. He's great competitor, great team guy. He's all about winning. So if you do not know, Billy Donovan coached Al Horford during Billy Donovan's time in Florida. So of course Billy Donovan's gonna have high things to say about Al Horford, who hit the dagger or the icer for this game. But again, though, even though Billy Donovan knows Al Horford can hit these shots, I still think Billy Donovan made the right decision to trap Jason Tatum, right? You trap Jason Tatum to make sure that he's not going to get that shot at the end of a game to potentially ice the game, right? Don't let Jason Tatum beat you. Make one of the role players beat you. And while Al Horford has been an all-star in his career, he is not currently an all-star now. So he stepped up to the plate tonight. Credit to him. But in the end, I can live with it. I'm going to live with Al Horford making that three instead of Jason Tatum taking a shot and seeing if that's going to go down. Because in my opinion, there's a good chance that goes down if Jason Tatum takes a shot, even if he is double teamed. So you force the shot to Al Horford, just tip your cap and move. And I'm not going to be too upset about that. So yeah, any news on if Zach is injured? I don't think Zach's injured at all. Or at least all the reports are saying that nothing's wrong with him. If something if you're interested, right? One thing that we could always kind of look at is the injury report, right? So if you don't know, there is a website that is for injury reports. So moving forward from here, if you want updates on DeMar DeRozan and updates on Zach, I do think Zach's fine. He may have tweaked his knee a little bit or jammed it a little bit, but I think he's healthy enough where he won't show up on the injury report or nothing's to be said or anything. So I don't expect to see Zach be on the injury report anytime soon here. So yeah, I'd be rather shocked if he's suddenly on the injury report for the Washington game. I just don't expect that to be the case. But for DeMar DeRozan and the other players like Javonte Green to see if he's going to be able to play or not, you can go to this here. We have access to this information as well. So you want to see if people are their updates and stuff. There's an update basically kind of every hour, and then closer to game time, you kind of get an update to like every half hour ish. So yeah, if you want to look, this is it. This is the website. If you are on Twitter, I always just, Casey Johnson, Rob Schaefer, they have the updates, right? They will get the information first and be on top of it all. So if you want updates on any of the players, go to them on Twitter. They're going to be on top of it all, and they might get the information before even the NBA injury report gets the information. So always have multiple resources for your information. Is what I'm trying to say, honestly. So yeah. It'll be interesting to see again what this bowl seems going to look like if DeRozan truly can't go against the Wizards or any other game where he can't go. All right. Fake news. I'm not gonna necessarily call Joe Coley like fake news in a sense, because what Coley does is that he'll take something that's actually legit, but he'll over dramatize it. He'll basically add a bunch of fluff to it, right? And kind of play the hypothetical game where that's always, for some reason, always more interesting to fans than what's the actual facts, right? So I'm not going to full out say Joe Coley's fake news, because he has reported real news a lot. But I also think that he has kind of taken some storylines way out of context and completely over dramatized it and or over dramatized it, I should say. And yeah, almost got to that fake news line, right? But we should also know as consumers that we're in the day of age where fake news is, totally fine for a lot of viewers for some reason, right? And a lot of viewers consume fake news, and sometimes we don't know it's fake news. So all I'll say is this: if nothing is reported by Casey Johnson on it, then I wouldn't. If someone else reports something but Casey Johnson doesn't report it or even straight up denies it, I would trust Casey Johnson more, because I feel like he has the more inside info than other people. But again, if you don't just trust Casey Johnson, then go look at the other beat writers, right? Go look at them and see if they're writing about it, okay? because that's how you double check to see if something is potentially legit or not. And Casey Johnson has confirmed that Zach was upset after that Magic game, right? But I don't think that he would say that their relationship is the point where it's very strained, as Joe Coley would put it or write about, right? It's very clearly that they're still working together for now, right? So who knows, man? We might get to that point where Zach's like, it's Donovan or me. I don't think it's gonna get to that point personally, but it could get there. I won't be shocked if it gets there, but I don't think it's gonna get there. And if anything, I think tonight kind of shows you where Donovan, he's giving Zach some leeway, and Zach's kind of getting what he wants, because I'm gonna guess that Zach LaVine said that I'm not coming out of this game. He played every single second of that second half. A coach typically wouldn't really do that in today's day and age, right? We see a lot of teams make sure that they limit their players' minutes, or at least so they're not playing 40 plus minutes per game, right? Zach played 42 tonight, so I'm gonna guess that the relationship is probably all right if Zach LaVine's allowed to play 42 minutes in the middle of a January game, right? This isn't a playoff game. This is just a January game in the middle of the season. So yeah, I'm just gonna think that this relationship's all right. Is it perfect? No. Is there issues that they have to work out? For sure. But I'm not gonna go ahead and say that it is strained, as Joe Coley has put it in the news. Yeah, just the typical. Just make sure you know where the news is coming from. I always think that's important. Let's see. Zach talked to Darnell at Mayberry, so he got. If you want to hear what Zach had to say, we might watch it together here. But I want to see if there's anything else that has been reported. This looks like DeMar DeRozan's just gonna be day to day for now. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if there's any more updates either tonight, but I think we're probably gonna get an update tomorrow for DeMar DeRozan. I want to listen to what Zach had to say here, so I'm gonna turn off the music and hear what he had to say about the fourth quarter.
Go out there and try out the team win.
Like a kind of a flashback game a couple of years ago, and it was Jim Boylan yelling to you to kind of take over things in the fourth quarter.
No, I mean, just you gotta go out there and try out the team win. Obviously, you want to have your boy out there with you. You got hurt. We were down. We've all been in that position before, so go out there and do your job.
What goes through your mind? DeMar leaves with 6 minutes. They say he's not going to return, and then start the fourth quarter. How are you approaching that fourth quarter, which you're obviously going to play a lot?
I mean, I tell everybody, you got to lay it out there. You're not doing it, win by feeling bad for ourselves, or we're down a man. Just go lay it out there, and we'll see what happens. We came back against them before. They're a good team, but we think we are too. And couple little bounces here and there. I think it's I think it could be our game.
You also were competing at a high level of the defensive end. You were chasing Tatum a lot in the fourth quarter. How did you keep your legs to the shots you did in that?
I mean, we had to. He was on such a tear in the third quarter. I think we did a good job of being able to contain him and make other guys make shots. With down the stretch they did, and I felt fine physically. Just go back and throw it out there and see what happens at the end of the game.
There were a lot of times last year when you guys in that third quarter would get down 14 and 16 and kind of let go of the rope. This year, what does it tell you about where you guys are at, what you've learned from even the beginning of this year against these upper echelon teams?
We got a good mindset. We all play for each other. We talk a lot. And, we have a confidence. Individually and as a group, we have a confidence. And I think that helps. Being able to go out there and compete. And wait to and go to the final buzzer. That confidence and belief. Keeps things going.
Yeah. So Zach talked about there, just like having DeMar go out. It's like it sucks, but like I said, like I thought this Bulls team did a phenomenal job of handling that gut punch, and Zach being a part of that, where he's just like, okay, well, DeMar's out. I'm I'm playing the rest of this game. I'm not coming out. Like that to me showed like, okay, we're gonna be fine, right? It's not time to panic. Yes, we're down. Yes, Jason Tatum's going off. Yes, we just lost our best player, but we're gonna stay together here and make sure that we're gonna stick in this game. And I'm gonna lead by example. I'm not gonna come out of this one. Keep me in, and we'll will our team to continue to move forward. And he did that, man. I mean, he straight up was just like, all right, let's roll. We gotta lay it all out there if DeRozan's not gonna be coming back. So they did that. I think the Bulls, honestly, they put all their effort out there tonight. I know the numbers are kind of, they're not exactly pretty in this one for the Bulls. Again, you got out rebounded, right? You gave up 9 offensive rebounds, which is not great. You had less assists, but it's not a huge difference, but overall less assists. You got blocked 7 times. You had 6 steals, which is good. Turnovers are kind of even, but then you fouled 18 times. So it's like maybe this wasn't exactly like the perfect, all-out performance where it's like you paid perfect attention to detail, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought this Bulls team really battled tonight. I thought that having to, go and try to weather that storm of DeRozan being out, it's mentally rough when you see that happen. So they made sure that they did not let the DeRozan injury hinder their performance, and they continued to battle, which I give them a lot of credit for. In terms of points in the paint, it was pretty even in this game. So Bulls had 42, Boston had 44. The Celtics in general just shoot a ton of threes, but the Bulls held them to 11 of 41 shooting, or you could say the Celtics held themselves to 11 of 41 shooting. Either way, the Bulls did a good job, I think, defensively in this one. Again, you held the Boston Celtics team at home to 107 points. And to me, it always starts with the defense of the interior defense for them. And I think only giving up 44 points in the paint is pretty solid. That's kind of where I want to see this Bulls team at the end of the game, is only give up about 44 to 46 or even lower than that points in the paint, because that means you forced more perimeter shots for the opposing team. And you see here, Celtics, they shot 41 threes. They're a good three-point shooting team. They only made 11, and hence they only shot 43% from the field. They only scored 107 points at home, right? And this is with 21 free throws, okay? That's good defense. And I'm very happy with this defense tonight. And again, it always starts with the interior. Second chance points, actually, the Bulls looks like they outworked the Celtics in terms of second chance opportunities, but the Celtics got more offensive rebounds. And there are a lot of times where the Celtics got multiple offensive rebounds but didn't score. But still, though, good job in general of converting on second chance opportunities by the Bulls. This is, I think, kind of the biggest thing for me, which is I said that coming into this one where the Bulls could potentially start looking to get some opportunities in the fast break, because this Celtics team with Robert Williams and Al Horford in the back line, it's tough to go into the interior and try to score in the paint, okay? So the way that you can get some more shots at the rim is if you push the ball in transition and try to get to the rim before their defense could get set. I thought Zach did an overall good job of pushing the ball tonight, and he saw opportunities where you could push it. Unfortunately, he didn't convert on some. I also thought he got fouled on a few that wasn't called. But I thought, even though that this number doesn't look that great for the Bulls, they got outscored in the fast break 11-3. I'm going to go ahead and say that they did a good job of trying to take advantage of second chance opportunities. I was overall pleased to see that they really did try to push the ball to see if they could get an opportunity before the Celtics defense got set. Because in reality, though, here's the thing: this Celtics defense is quick. They have length everywhere on the perimeter and the interior, and not only that, they also have very mobile bigs. So it is, in general, just difficult to get transition opportunities against them because they're so good defensively. They have so many mobile guys, and they have length everywhere on the court that if you try to get that transition opportunity, they might just swallow it up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give the Bulls a little bit of credit. I would have liked to see this fast break points, though, be a little bit higher than 3. I think that's something that they could have gotten a little bit more of, but I'm going to give them credit for what they tried to do today. Yeah. What were your thoughts on Bulls training for Gobert last year? So I was in general for the Gobert trade. To me, I was very 50-50 about it, okay? I did make a video, if I'm not mistaken, about it. But I'm gonna pull up a tweet. Actually, I'm gonna hide my screen here for a second though as I pull this up. The Rudy Gobert trade in general, I was mostly opposed to it. It had to be the right deal. Okay. It had to be a deal where the Bulls weren't giving up that much, right? And sorry, I'm trying to search here. And the Bulls still had some leftover pieces to kind of work with moving forward. So basically, this was kind of like my idea of what I was thinking of. So for the Bulls, okay, if you want to know about numbers, how salary cap works, this is my tweet about it. I was all right with the Bulls setting Vooch, Kobe, Tony Bradley, Marco, and then setting some picks to the Utah Jazz, okay? And if you do not know, that actually works in terms of salary, okay? Gobert makes about this much money. The Bulls will then have to send out about this much. These contracts together make up over the 30.43. This is 30.97. And this is going off of this rule, which is 125% of the outgoing salary plus 100K for any amount above $19.6 million. Okay, so Gobert is over that. Obviously, the Bulls will be sending out over that. So you do the math. This is what the Bulls need to get to. Now, here's the thing. You're probably like, well, okay, a Gobert trade doesn't happen without Patrick Williams. And I totally agree with you. My thing was this. It's like, if you're going to trade Patrick Williams, then you cannot trade Kobe, in my opinion, because you're going to need Kobe either to be a good player for the team now, or you're going to trade Kobe for another piece. And some of these deals where I was like, okay, if you're throwing in Vooch, Kobe, P. Will, Jalen Terry, your most recent pick, your Portland Trailblazers pick, and then another pick down the line, like in 2027. To me, that was too much, because at the end of the day, Rudy Gobert is a 30-year-old center that has no offensive game whatsoever and is strictly just a defensive force. Okay, if it was a Vooch and Patrick Williams deal, then I would have been for it. Okay, if it was just Vooch, Patrick Williams, and a pick, I would have done it. It just, once you get to the territory where you're asking for both P. Will and Kobe and multiple first-round picks, I said that wasn't worth it. To me, that's too much for the Bulls to give up, because at the end of the day, it doesn't fix the Bulls entirely, right? The Bulls not only had interior defensive issues, they have exterior defensive issues, right? They have perimeter defensive issues. Gobert helps the interior, but he doesn't help the perimeter defense. And then the Bulls already lack three-point shooting, and with Gobert, you shrink the floor even more, right? So to me, it's like you have to make sure that you're not giving up too much, because at the end of the day, Gobert doesn't fix all your issues. And seeing what the Timberwolves gave up, I was very happy that the Bulls decided not to try to bid for Rudy Gobert, because what in the hell was the Minnesota Timberwolves thinking? Because that, I think, is going to be a very bad trade for a long time, at least for now. At least that's what I'm looking at. Maybe they trade Cat and they get, a good star in return, and it all kind of works out. But in my opinion, that 5 picks for Rudy Gobert, and I'm counting the Walker Kessler pick, like that's ridiculous. I think that's utterly ridiculous. And the Timberwolves, they got to keep McDaniels in that trade, so they're thinking like, oh, we won this easily. I looked at that, I'm like, I think you just made a serious mistake for a 30-year-old center who relies on his athleticism and has no offensive game whatsoever. So overall, I thought it was a good fit in general for the Bulls, but it only made sense. It was only a good fit if you're not giving up too much. Okay, and I think that's just kind of like the in general for every trade, right? So this sort of trade here, right, plus 2 first-round picks, I could be down with it, but nothing more than that, right? I'm not throwing in Patrick Williams, and I'm not throwing in more picks. Yeah. So this is just kind of what I was kind of looking at. Also, though, here's something to keep in mind. So with LaVine re-signing, like, and this was just kind of like assuming that LaVine resigned at this point, right? Or sorry, LaVine 100% resigned at this point. Sorry. One thing to keep in mind though is that what Gobert would do would be it would put the Bulls into the luxury tax. Okay. Now with the luxury tax, I brought up this. The non-taxpayer mid-level exception for the Bulls not only shrinks this year, but then it shrinks the next year too. Okay. And this is just assuming that Rudy Gobert stays on the roster and they don't look to clear out any sort of salary, right? Which would actually have a big problem for the Bulls if Ayo Dosunmu suddenly had a very good year. So that now suddenly, if Ayo had that very good year, they could not use the non-taxpayer mid-level exception to re-sign him. Okay, that means another team could have for sure, swooped in and re-signed or signed him to a 4-year, $80 million contract, and the Bulls would have no ability to match that deal. So I wasn't necessarily too upset when I saw that Gobert got traded to the Timberwolves, and I'm like, okay, well, now the Bulls get to keep the mid-level exception. If Ayo does ball out, we get to for sure keep him. I thought that was an overall plus. He hasn't exactly balled out, but it's still, something to keep in mind because he could still get that big contract in. I want the Bulls to try to keep him, even if he does get that big deal. And they have every ability to keep him because Gobert did not come here. So something just to keep in mind when it comes to this sort of stuff here. Do you think we can trade DeMar and Vooch for DeAndre Ayton and Jay Crowder? No, I don't think that's possible. I think the Phoenix Suns are like, we want to just keep DeAndre Ayton. There's no reason to even try to move DeAndre Ayton. And they would solely just look to try to get DeMar DeRozan only and not try to take on Vooch as well. Because if they're trading DeAndre Ayton, that's trading 4 or 3, I guess now 3 years of control of a starting center that is one of the upper echelon tier centers. They're just not going to trade that for a guy that's going to be an unrestricted free agent this upcoming offseason, and DeMar DeRozan, who is going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2024. So them making that trade makes absolutely no sense whatsoever for them. They just want DeRozan, I think, just by himself and not have to trade DeAndre Ayton at all to get DeMar DeRozan to come. So yeah, unfortunately, I feel like that's not something that's going to happen. If I was the Bulls, I would do that immediately. But yeah, I would not do. Both of them are disgruntled stars. Just as I said with Zach of him, having this disgruntled stuff, I don't think DeAndre Ayton is that necessarily disgruntled. I feel like the Phoenix Suns, they're going through a rough stretch here where they're trying to win, right? They made it to the NBA Finals. They disappointed last year. They're just trying to hold each other accountable, and they're kind of pissed off at one another a little bit. And not having Devin Booker suddenly really, really hurts. So they're trying to weather the storm of not having their best player, and unfortunately for them, it just keeps getting worse for them, unfortunately. They've lost 6 straight suddenly. So I'm not going to necessarily say DeAndre Ayton is disgruntled in a sense. I do think that he did get kind of played in the whole contract situation. I thought Phoenix just straight up played him. And if you don't know, Phoenix did save some money because they played it that way with Ayton. They were able to save a few pennies because of the way that they had him get his contract. So maybe he might be upset at Phoenix, like the general manager and James Jones for that. But I don't know if I could be that upset if I'm DeAndre Ayton because, if Devin Booker comes back and is himself, you have a chance to go to the finals again. I wouldn't pick you personally, but the West, in my opinion, is as open as it's been in a while. So I don't know if I would leave Phoenix for Chicago. That doesn't really sound like that enticing if I'm DeAndre Ayton right now. But I don't know. You could have something there, Noel. I just personally think that, I haven't really seen like a disgruntled star necessarily on the court, right? Or there's antics on the court, right? DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges, I guess, they've had some, clashes on the court, but to me, it's that's just out of competitive nature. We just recently saw Thaddeus Young and Scotty Barnes go at it, but pregame, right? Scotty, I don't know what exactly was said, but Thaddeus Young is just kind of saying, like, look, there's no issue here. It's just us trying to hold each other accountable, and it's a good thing at the end of the day. Because, again, they're underachieving, right? And I think just in general, if you're underachieving as a team, that itself is just going to boil more anger, not necessarily towards the players or your teammates or the coaches, you're just upset, right? You're just pissed off at yourself. You're pissed off that you could not, potentially do more, right? It's just that you're underachieving, and it's the basketball gods just not favoring you, unfortunately. So I think for the Phoenix Suns and Jay Crowder, I wouldn't call him a star, so I'm not going to label him in that disgruntled stars category. But with Jay Crowder, that's a contract situation, right? That's not like he's pissed off at Phoenix, right? So, or his teammates or anything. He wants to just get money, and I don't know if him getting traded to Chicago is going to fix that, because I don't think Chicago is going to pay him that money either. So Jay Crowder, I think, is just battling a losing battle, and he's just going to not really benefit from this, unfortunately for him. And it's just going to end up kind of blowing up in his face, because he's not going to really get paid. So I think with Jay Crowder, again, he's obviously not a star, so I'm not going to put him in that disgruntled star category. He's disgruntled at James Jones and not his teammates, right? He's just kind of like, hey, I want money, and they're not willing to pay it, so I'm just not going to play. Which is kind of weird, because he wants to get paid some serious money when I don't think he deserves it either. So, yeah, I would just, if there is a DeRozan trade on the horizon, again, this could be a possibility, because I am looking at this Phoenix Suns team, and it almost looks like they're drowning, right? They're suddenly struggling so bad on the road. They're 1-9 in their last 10. Like, it's not just a 6-game losing streak for them. They're 1-9 in their last 10. It's bad. Okay, with Devin Booker being out suddenly, like, I do think that James Jones might call up the Bulls about DeMar DeRozan. And again, if I'm the Chicago Bulls, I am willing to take on Jay Crowder if it means that I'm getting Cam Johnson and I'm also getting 3 first-round picks in return. That's the reason that's the only reason why I would take Jay Crowder. I'm not taking Jay Crowder this year as a Bulls fan so he can help us play this year, right? Because in my opinion, that dude is not playing. He wants to go to a team that's willing to pay him. The Bulls, they're going to trade for him, and they're like, well, we're not going to extend you. So he's just be like, all right, I'm not going to play if you guys aren't going to pay me. So if I'm the Bulls, I'm staying away from Jay Crowder unless I'm trading DeRozan and I'm getting a big haul in return alongside Jay Crowder. They're staying in the plan because of the other teams losing. So that's definitely part of it. Yeah, the other teams are losing. The Portland Trailblazers are all of a sudden, they've kind of sunk a little bit, and that's not good for the Bulls pick, because I want their pick this year. But the LA Clippers, they suddenly lost 6 straight suddenly. What's funny is that the Timberwolves and Lakers, they've won 4 and 5 straight respectively, but the Utah Jazz have lost, they're 3 in their last 7. So yeah, definitely the teams out west, they've started to slump, and lo and behold, hey, the reigning champions are suddenly at the 6th seed, and this is without Steph Curry in their past week. And Steph Curry, guess what? He comes back on Sunday against the Phoenix Suns. So congratulations, Phoenix. Your season's probably just going to get worse, because Steph Curry's coming back, but then he gets to come back and face you. So yeah, it's crazy how out west, where suddenly just these teams just went on a big slump, and now the Timberwolves and Lakers all of a sudden look like they have a chance. Even though they probably didn't deserve a chance initially. But yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. What's also interesting to me is that the Western Conference, in the Western Conference, there are only 5 teams right now that are over 500. Right? You're seeing the 5 teams right here. Okay, Sacramento is the last team in the West that's over 500. Kind of crazy, right? It's kind of nuts out there right now. So we're really going to see who's going to be the actual good teams out of the West. Probably come after All-Star break, because the Golden State Warriors, they may be 500 right now. I guarantee you, come after All-Star break and come playoff time, they're going to be looking a lot more scarier than they do right now. They're suddenly the 6th seed. Do you remember when the Golden State Warriors were the 9th seed, right? They were kind of 9 and 10, and all of a sudden they lost Steph, right? Well, they're the 6th seed. Okay, they could definitely drop back down to 10 with a loss here, but they're the 6th seed suddenly. It just happens. Like it boom, the Golden State Warriors, they're out of the play-in. That's not good if you're the rest of the West. So yeah, it's happening. Out east, you're seeing here at least 8 teams are over 500. Out east. So there's a little bit better teams out there, I guess, but still pretty close in general. Yeah, they're definitely teams underachieving, like the Hawks, the Bulls, Raptors, Wizards, Heat. They're all underachieving in my opinion. Kings are my favorite West team. Yeah, I've enjoyed what the Kings have done. I truly hope that they can continue their success this year. We'll see, but I just won't be shocked if the Kings suddenly are in the play-in tournament come April. That will suck, but you know, it is what it is. But if there's a time for the Kings to start winning, it's now, because the West is open. And they have a chance right now. They truly do have a chance here. But we'll see. But I am also enjoying the Kings season. I'm also rooting for the Blazers because we have their pick. Yeah, I'm also rooting for the Blazers. I honestly don't know what's up with them. Their defense suddenly has just kind of fallen off a cliff after a good start to the year. Also, Jeremy Grant is kind of like, his numbers have kind of dipped a little bit. Anthony Simons also had like that fantastic start to the year, and he's also kind of dipped a little bit. Lillard's back, but you know, it is what it is. So we'll see what happens with the Trailblazers too, because that's a team for Bulls fans we have to be watching. We have to make sure that they start winning here so we can get their pick. But at least if they're in the playing game, I trust Damian Lillard to kind of show out. So that's kind of at least a good thing, is that Damian Lillard will be there to show up a little bit. Shannon Sharps is really good. Shannon Sharp. Okay, I'm just gonna say this right now. I do think he is a tad bit overhyped, but I have to say I am impressed with what he has done this year. He has some serious potential here to be a very impactful player. I do think he is still a little bit overhyped, but I have been impressed. I'm glad to see that he is really showing off his skills, and not just only showing off his athleticism that people just keep talking about, right? Like, he isn't making headlines as a rookie, like the potential. Oh yeah, he's definitely not making headlines as a rookie, because I think the Rookie of the Year race is clearly wrapped up in Orlando, and I don't think anyone's come anywhere close to Paolo Banchero in his season. But yeah, Shannon Sharp, he's had some good moments this year, and we see the potential in him. I do think he got a little overhyped coming into the draft, and then, you know, coming into the season he was a little overhyped, but he's impressed me. So looking forward to his career with the Blazers, hopefully, and just his career in general, because I can see him being a very impactful player that is perfect for today's NBA game. So I hope he has good success out there in Portland. All right, so obviously big news tonight is that DeMar DeRozan went out. Okay, he left the game, which is kind of crazy to see. We typically don't see DeMar DeRozan miss games or come out of games, right? So we're gonna see how he does in the future here. But just continue to make sure that Casey Johnson just continue checking out Casey Johnson and also Rob Schaefer, right? If you want to make sure that if you want to get updates on DeRozan, those are your guys. Also, NBA injury report, right? This is also something that you can look at. So if you want to see the entire report, right, this is it. And this is released every single hour for basically every single day. So this is how you kind of get the updates, right? If you're not part of the media team. So, yep, just make sure that we are looking at this moving forward. Hopefully DeRozan's going to be all right. But I hope that he doesn't have to miss a game. I'm just going to think that he's missing a game against Washington, which kind of sucks, but we'll get through it, right? This team has shown resiliency recently. Well, they have to show a lot of resiliency moving forward if DeRozan truly can't play. Banchero is heavily underrated. I agree with that, and I think he's underrated because he's in Orlando. If the dude was in LA, there'd be so much talk about him. If he was just in Miami, I guess I think there'd be more talk about him actually. But he's in Orlando. It's nice there. It's warm. So I guess he gets that. But yeah, it's Orlando. So yeah, he'll get underrated in the headlines, unfortunately. So he's averaging rookie numbers that Hall of Fame averaged the rookie season. Oh yeah, his numbers for a rookie year are incredible. Okay, Banchero's rookie numbers are just flat out insane for a rookie. I am very, very thoroughly impressed with what he has done. Just his rookie year. It's very similar. Like, I don't want to say that he's going to be a Karl-Anthony Towns because I think they're two different games, and I truly hope he doesn't only cap at a Karl-Anthony Towns type player, because he has potential, in my opinion, to be a little bit more than Cat. But Cat had a very phenomenal rookie season as well, right? His numbers just look so similar in a sense where I'm like, wow, it's been like that long since I've seen like a rookie season since Karl-Anthony Towns had that great rookie year. So, I again, not the same game, not different players. Just I hope that Banchero is a little bit like his potential is not capped at being Cat, because I think he could be a little bit more than Cat personally. I would hope to see that as just a fan of the NBA is someone better than Cat. Everybody's on the Wembanyama train for getting the current rookies. Yeah, I think unfortunately, because Chet Holmgren's out, that there's not much hype, right? Because if there was going to be a Rookie of the Year race, it would be Paul Banchero and Chet Holmgren. Jabari Smith Jr., unfortunately, has just kind of sucked this year. He's been better recently, but like he hasn't really impressed me. Like there's not a lot there that's interesting, in my opinion. So just in general, I think like the top 3 rookies suddenly just kind of like, all right. They're not that impressive, except for Banchero, who was the number 1 overall pick. So he kind of has the expectation on him. So I think that's kind of the reason why everyone's like, oh, Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, because they might already be better than some of the rookies that were highly drafted this past draft. They might already be better than them, which is kind of the reason why everyone's like, okay, next draft, this one's boring, right? Which I think. What people need to understand, just as we always say with this Bulls team, and not giving up on players, we can't give up on Jabari Smith Jr. just because he's had a bad rookie year. I'm saying that he hasn't impressed me. Like he truly has not impressed me this rookie season. But I'm not going to give up on him just because he has a not impressive rookie year. That's stupid, right? That you don't do that. So we just need to make sure that that we don't give up on these guys too early. Calling me crazy, but I like Scoot Henderson more than Wembanyama. I don't blame you. I'm not going to call you crazy because at the end of the day, it's a perimeter-oriented game, also a guard-oriented game, and Wembanyama being 7'4" and his knees, it's scary, right? But Scoot Henderson, like I understand why people would be kind of intrigued by him a little bit more than Wembanyama, but in my opinion, because Wembanyama can shoot the 3 ball and is can be that perimeter-oriented guy. He's more impressive to me. At least if I was choosing, I would choose Wembanyama. But I'm not going to fault people for saying that they like Scoot Henderson more, because Scoot Henderson has also looked very good. Yeah. I'm just getting a gut feeling. Yeah. And you know what? You're allowed to have that gut feeling. I'm not going to take that away from you. I think it's actually a pretty good gut feeling because, like I said, any players over 7'3" in the NBA, they've always had knee issues. So I won't be shocked if Wembanyama has knee issues as well. We'll see though. We'll find out though. All right. So Bulls take on Washington Wizards next Wednesday. So as Noel brought up to me, there is no Bradley Beal in this one. So it's gonna be Kristaps Porzingis against Zach LaVine. So that's your headliner stars. And hopefully the Bulls can get a win in this one. But that's gonna do tonight for the stream, guys. I appreciate you all hanging out with me. If you have not already, I appreciate the like button on the stream. Also, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for more Bulls content. Bulls got a tough L in Boston today. DeMar DeRozan did leave the game due to a quad injury, but I was very impressed with their overall grittiness and toughness to stay in this one. And it was cool to see LaVine and Vucevic kind of take over in that fourth quarter to basically almost will this team to victory when they did not deserve it. But just good job overall by this team to stay in this one, and I hope to see them continue this sort of level of effort and toughness moving forward into their future games. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.